Let me tell you a story about something that happened to me recently. I went to pick up my son from school and he came out screaming and crying. Of course, as every mother, I was worried and questioning what could have happened for him to be in this state. And at the same time, I was thinking, oh my goodness, everybody's watching me. He is still screaming. I just want to put him in the car and go home. So what do I do? Hello everyone, my name is Violeta Parvanova. I'm a certified psychologist as well as a childcare educator and a mom of a soon-to-be 6-year-old. If you like this kind of content, please don't forget to subscribe. I would love to have you as a viewer. And with all that said, let's begin. So let's come back to the real question here. How do we as parents help our children, or how can we help our children manage their big emotions? And I have 4 ways for you that have proven themselves really effective in this kind of situations. The first thing that you can do, and that really helps, is when you listen to them with all your attention intently. And this means really all your attention. So no phones, no looking through the window, no thinking about something else, but really be there with them in the moment and try to understand what they're going through. The next thing that you can do is to show them that you really understand their emotion. And what it means is not that you agree with that emotion, but that you can understand why are they having this particular emotion in this particular situation. The third thing that you can do, and this actually you have heard me talk about it quite a lot, is name it to tame it, which basically means just name the emotion that you think that they're going through right now. Nothing but the fact to give a name of that emotion helps for the intensity to not be that important. And the last thing that you can do that is actually also quite effective is to help them imagine that what they didn't get or what didn't happen the way that they wanted to actually happens or they get in their imagination. Like for example, if you promised your kid to get a Kinder Egg on Sunday, but they actually want the Kinder Egg now on Wednesday, they have to wait, but still you can help them by saying, for example, oh, it would have been nice if you could get the Kinder Egg today, no? Yes, and can you imagine you're getting it, you're eating all the chocolate, and then you open and there's a little big surprise for you as a toy. Imagine that you get a sports car. Wouldn't it be fantastic? Let's be honest here for a minute. Nowadays, it has become increasingly complicated to be able to listen to our own selves and what happens in our inner reality. And what do we do when it comes to our children? When it's complicated sometimes to understand their emotions or to even agree with these emotions, how do we do it? Well, it's not easy. This I can assure you. As the psychologist, we're trained to be able to listen to people for at least 4 or 5 years. So yes, it demands a lot of practice, it demands a lot of experience. But as parents, we have to start somewhere. So just try as much as possible when your child is just talking to you to be really there in the moment and try to understand them and to listen to them intently. The other very important thing to consider when it comes to emotions is that it is not a question to agree with the emotions of your kids. They do not expect you to agree with those emotions. The same way I do not expect, for example, my husband to agree with the fact that I'm angry right now. What I expect him to do is to consider that I'm angry right now, and especially to acknowledge my right to be angry in this situation. So it's not a question about agreement or disagreement. It's a question of consideration. When we consider our child's emotions, we actually help them a lot, because the more they understand themselves and the more they understand what we call their inner reality, the more they're able to manage it. Plus, if we consider their emotions, they're more inclined to accept our restrictions. Of course, we're going to make mistakes. We cannot always be able to understand it, to name the proper emotion. But please do continue to try, because your efforts will be much appreciated by your child. And the most important thing that we can do, and this is even more important than all the words that we're going to use when we try to communicate with our kid, and this is actually our attitude. If our attitude is not full of compassion, it will be perceived by our child as manipulation or just hot air. So it is extremely important when we speak to our child to show real compassion, so we can be really heard, and so that our kid can feel really understood and accepted. So let's come back to my situation. My son is coming out of school screaming and crying. His teacher comes to me and explains to me that the whole class was misbehaving that day, and that she retrieved the charts for good behavior because of this, and that this was the reason why my son was in that state. So firstly, I said to myself, okay, it's nothing serious. But then I went down on the level of my son, and I just looked at him in the eyes with all the compassion that I was capable of, and I just hugged him. And I let him scream and cry for as long as he needed. I actually let him get through his emotion. And I showed him that I consider that emotion and that he has the right to have that emotion. I did not agree with the emotion, because for me, retrieving a chart for good behavior is not reason enough to put me in a state where I would scream and cry. But in his situation, apparently this was reason enough. So I did not agree, but I considered and I agreed with the fact that he had the right to be in that emotional state. I've waited for as long as he needed. It was around 5 minutes. Let me assure you, it wasn't easy, because again, all the parents were looking at us, but what was most important is for my child to go through his emotion. Yes, I could have lured him in with the fact that there was a truck doing works right beside us, or we could have gone to the nearest shop to buy some candy or something like this. But in the long term, this is not a good solution, and this won't teach my kid how to get through his big emotions. So I stayed there. He cried for another 5 minutes, and then we went in the car and went home. I really do hope that this video was helpful for you. Please do not forget to subscribe, and I will see you in my next one. Bye guys!